Dorothy had never missed her morning tea. At 74, her routine was simple. Wake early, open the curtains, turn on the kettle. But in recent months, something about her body had changed. Her arms felt softer. Her thighs, once firm from decades of gardening, had turned to mush. And worst of all, she began struggling to get out of her own chair. It wasn't sudden. It crept in like fog. Each week she felt a little slower, a little weaker. Her doctor explained it gently. It's sarcopenia, Dorothy. Age-related muscle loss. She hated the word. It made her feel helpless, as if her strength was slipping, no matter how careful she was. But that same day, her granddaughter showed her a short clip online about a simple drink seniors could take each morning to fight back. Something that didn't involve pills or painful workouts. Just a nutrient-packed blend made from ingredients she already had in her kitchen. It started with unsweetened almond milk, rich in magnesium and low in inflammation triggers. Then came a scoop of whey protein, which her doctor later called the most absorbable form of strength food for seniors. Add a small pinch of turmeric for inflammation, ground flaxseed for omega-3s, and half a banana for potassium. Blended smooth, it became Dorothy's new ritual. And within 2 weeks, she noticed the difference. Her arms didn't tremble when she carried groceries. She could rise from her chair without pushing off her knees. The scale hadn't changed, but her muscles had. What shocked her most wasn't just how effective the drink was, it was how long she'd been skipping breakfast, thinking tea and toast were enough. But the truth was, her body had been starving for protein and repair. And with each sip of her new routine, she was slowly feeding herself back to strength. Dorothy always believed that breakfast was optional, especially in retirement. For decades, she'd started her mornings with just a piece of toast and her usual cup of tea, maybe a dab of jam if she felt indulgent. But what she didn't realize, what no one ever told her, was that after 60, the body wakes up in a state of deficit. Overnight, while the body is resting, it continues to burn through nutrients. Muscles go into fasting mode, and unless they're replenished early in the day, the process of rebuilding slows, or stops completely. Her doctor explained it in simple terms. Imagine trying to repair a bridge without any bricks. The protein and micronutrients she failed to consume each morning weren't just missed meals, they were missed opportunities to halt the very decline she feared. Dorothy started researching more and discovered that seniors need even more protein than younger adults to maintain muscle. At least 20 to 30 grams in the morning, if possible. Her morning drink became the perfect delivery vehicle. Sometimes she added frozen berries for antioxidants or a spoon of nut butter for extra fat and staying power. But the foundation stayed the same. Protein, hydration, muscle-friendly minerals, and anti-inflammatory support. As the days passed, she noticed her hands stopped shaking when she held the broom. Her legs felt firmer when stepping into the bathtub. And slowly, her posture corrected itself. Not because she was doing anything extreme, but because she had finally given her body what it had been missing every single morning. Dorothy learned that a simple drink was more than nutrition. It was momentum. It gave her muscles a reason to rebuild, and now, every time she blended those ingredients, she didn't just see a smoothie. She saw strength. Quiet, dependable, returning strength, one glass at a time. It wasn't just about protein anymore. As Dorothy continued her morning habit, she started learning about what else her body had been quietly running low on. Nutrients that once came easily in youth, but now needed to be intentionally added back. One morning, while sipping her blend, she came across an article about magnesium, calling it the forgotten mineral of aging. She'd never given it much thought, but the symptoms sounded familiar. Muscle cramps, low energy, trouble sleeping, even mild anxiety. Her doctor confirmed it later that week. Magnesium helps muscles relax, supports bone strength, and keeps your nerves firing correctly. Most seniors aren't getting enough. That same day, she tweaked her drink again, adding a teaspoon of chia seeds and a few spinach leaves. The taste barely changed, but what happened in her body was noticeable. Her muscles didn't feel as tight in the morning. Her legs no longer twitched before bed, and when she walked, she felt less wobbly, more grounded. But magnesium was only part of the puzzle. Dorothy also discovered that potassium, the mineral responsible for electrical signals in the body, was just as vital. A simple banana or a few cubes of avocado in the blend ensured her heart stayed steady and her muscles responsive. The best part? She wasn't swallowing pills or navigating complex routines. She was just drinking a glass of restoration, day after day. And with each addition, magnesium, potassium, fiber, healthy fat, her energy returned. Not the jittery kind, but the durable kind, the kind that made her feel alive in her own skin again. Dorothy realized that this morning drink wasn't just keeping her full. It was filling in the blanks that time and routine had slowly erased. And in doing so, it was rebuilding her legs and her confidence sip by sip. The real shift didn't happen in her kitchen. It happened on the stairs. Dorothy had always taken them carefully, one hand on the rail, knees creaking, breath short. But 3 weeks into her new morning routine, she reached the top landing and realized she hadn't stopped halfway. Her legs, once wobbly and uncertain, now felt anchored, as if something deep inside had been switched back on. It wasn't sudden. It was gradual. But it was real. And she knew it wasn't just the drink itself. It was the timing. Her body had been desperate for nutrients first thing in the morning, not later in the day when most people remember to eat better. Her doctor had explained it best. Your muscles don't grow during exercise. They grow after. And after sleep, your body is primed to rebuild, but only if it has the materials. By giving her body protein, magnesium, potassium, and healthy fats early, before the fatigue of the day set in, Dorothy was stacking the odds in her favor. Her muscles didn't just stop shrinking, they began growing stronger again. She could lift grocery bags without pausing. She could squat down in the garden and actually get up again without clutching her hip. She began walking farther, standing taller. And with that strength came something she hadn't felt in years. Hope. Because losing muscle had felt like losing a piece of herself. A quiet unraveling. But every morning, when she turned on the blender, she felt like she was sewing those pieces back together. Strong legs meant more than balance. They meant freedom. And every time she chose to fuel them before the day began, she was sending her body a message. I haven't given up on you. And to her surprise, her body responded in kind, as if it had just been waiting for her to begin. Dorothy never considered that the way she started her morning could influence the way she ended her day. Before her new routine, she often found herself dragging by mid-afternoon, legs heavy, shoulders slumped, every step a reminder that she was slowing down. But as the days passed and her morning drink became habit, something shifted. Her energy began to last. The fatigue that once wrapped around her ankles like chains now lifted. She didn't nap as often. She no longer avoided walking to the mailbox or putting away the laundry in one go. The secret wasn't just in the ingredients. It was in consistency. Every single day, her muscles were being fed before they had a chance to break down. Her body was no longer operating on fumes. The amino acids from the protein, the electrolytes from the banana, the anti-inflammatory properties of turmeric and flax, they weren't just nutrients, they were tools, repairing and restoring her from the inside out. She had spent years believing that aging meant decline, that losing strength, flexibility, and energy was inevitable. But now, with nothing more than a blender and 5 minutes each morning, she was proving that belief wrong. Her legs didn't ache the way they used to. The stiffness in her back eased. Her gait grew longer, more confident. Even her skin looked brighter. She felt like her body was finally working with her instead of against her. It was as if, after years of neglecting her needs first thing in the morning, her body had been silently waiting for her to notice, and now that she had, it responded with grace. Dorothy learned something powerful. Not every cure comes in a bottle. Sometimes it comes in a glass. At just the right time. And sometimes that time is right after sunrise. It was a Sunday morning when Dorothy met an old friend at the market, someone she hadn't seen in years. "You look stronger," her friend said, surprised, noticing how easily Dorothy carried her basket and stood without shifting from one foot to the other. It was a small comment, but it stayed with her. For the first time in a long while, someone had seen her as steady, capable, not fragile. And it wasn't because of a gym membership or a miracle drug. It was because she had changed how her day began. Her friend asked what she was doing differently, and Dorothy explained the drink, the ingredients, the intention. "But it's not just what I put in the glass," she said. "It's what I've stopped leaving out." She had stopped ignoring her muscle loss. She had stopped skipping breakfast. She had stopped accepting stiffness as inevitable. And in return, her body had stopped declining. The two of them talked longer than expected, standing the whole time. No bench needed. When Dorothy returned home, she realized how proud she felt, not just for her physical strength, but for taking control again. Aging hadn't taken everything away. She just needed to meet her body where it was, fuel it first, listen to it, and keep doing it, even when the results didn't come overnight. That morning conversation became her proof that her effort was visible, tangible, not just in lab results or pain reduction, but in how others saw her, not as fading, but as returning. And from that day on, she didn't just make her drink for energy. She made it as a declaration that she was still rebuilding, still choosing strength, and still refusing to let time write her ending without her own hands on the pen. There were still hard days. Mornings when Dorothy's knees felt stubborn, or when the ache in her hips whispered that time was still doing its quiet work. But now she had tools, and she had proof. She had learned that the key to muscle strength after 60 wasn't intensity, but consistency. Her morning drink had become her anchor, but she began supporting it with small changes that added power to its effects. After finishing her blend, she no longer sat immediately to read the news. She stood and stretched, just for 2 minutes. A forward bend, a heel raise, a sidestep. Her doctor had told her that movement right after fueling was like pressing go on a machine that was ready to build. Protein doesn't work if it has nowhere to go, he had said. So she gave it direction. Each small movement was a signal to her body. Rebuild here, support this joint, strengthen that tendon. And the results were more than physical. Her mood lifted. Her thoughts sharpened. She felt less foggy, less forgetful. It was as if her body, now nourished and activated, gave her mind permission to show up fully too. And on days she didn't feel like blending, she kept boiled eggs in the fridge, protein drinks with clean labels in the pantry, a banana and nut butter on standby. The magic wasn't in the exact ingredients. It was in showing up for her body every single morning with something that said, "I'm still in this with you." Dorothy understood now that the first 30 minutes of her day set the tone for everything else. Not just her strength, but her confidence. Not just her movement, but her mindset. And that mindset, fueled daily, had become the most powerful muscle she never expected to grow. The seasons were changing when Dorothy realized she no longer feared winter. For years, the cold months had meant tighter joints, slippery steps, and the quiet dread of another fall. She used to hesitate before walking down her porch stairs, gripping the railing and whispering a silent prayer. But not this year. This year she felt ready. Her legs, once hesitant, now moved with rhythm. Her mornings, once rushed or skipped, were now sacred. She had built something, bit by bit, sip by sip, that no snowstorm could shake. Her doctor had said it best at her last checkup. You've added density, not just to her muscles, but to her resilience. Her bones were stronger. Her gait had improved. Her fall risk was lower. Dorothy smiled when he said that. She hadn't just added a drink to her day, she'd added intention. She began telling others at her church group, sharing the recipe, encouraging women in their 70s and 80s to take that one simple step before breakfast. Start with care, she'd say. Don't wait until your legs stop working to realize they needed you. And more than once, someone came back weeks later saying they felt better, that they noticed the change, that they finally believed strength after 60 wasn't a fantasy. It was a formula: fuel, movement, consistency. Dorothy's mornings had become a quiet revolution. She didn't need the whole world to see it. Just the feeling in her thighs when she climbed stairs without pain. Just the steadiness in her feet as she walked on gravel. Just the knowing in her chest that she had taken back what time had tried to steal. And in the quiet hum of her blender each morning, she heard more than a drink being made. She heard her strength returning. One morning at a time. Dorothy had come full circle. What started as a small act, a drink in the morning, had become a quiet transformation not just of her body but of her identity. She no longer saw herself as someone trying to slow the decline. She saw herself as someone in training, someone rebuilding. Her clothes fit differently now. Not tighter, but more comfortably, as if her posture had pulled everything back into place. She noticed her reflection. Shoulders back, chin higher, legs that looked like they belonged to someone still working, still moving, still strong. The changes were subtle to others, but monumental to her. She no longer grunted when rising from a chair. She no longer reached for the wall while putting on her shoes. And she no longer accepted the quiet lie that age meant weakness. Her friends still asked, "What are you doing?" Expecting some complicated secret, but it was always the same answer. I start strong. That's it. Starting strong didn't mean pushing herself to exhaustion. It meant giving her body what it needed, before the day had a chance to take it away. It meant showing up for herself, before showing up for the world. Her drink had become a ritual of respect, a symbol of belief that she still deserved to feel good in her skin, steady on her feet, and hopeful for the years ahead. She had stopped thinking about aging as a slope and started thinking of it as a path, one she could still walk with pride, not because time was kind, but because she was kind to herself. Each morning wasn't just another day to survive. It was another day to rebuild from the inside out. And with each glass, she reminded herself that strength wasn't behind her. It was something she could drink her way back to. On her 75th birthday, Dorothy stood in her kitchen, hands wrapped around the same ceramic mug she used every morning, watching the steam rise from her blender, just like always. But this time, she wasn't thinking about her drink. She was thinking about what it had given her. A year ago, she had felt her strength slipping, her balance wavering, her independence fraying at the edges. She had feared the stairs, skipped the mirror, and told herself she was just getting old. But today her legs were steady. Her arms could lift. Her spine stood tall not from stubbornness, but from support. And it had all started with one choice: to feed her body before the day could drain it. She had made that choice again and again. On tired days, on cold days, even on days when doubt crept in. And now, with every movement that no longer hurt, with every step that no longer feared the floor, she felt the reward of her consistency. She didn't feel younger. She felt more capable, more alive, more hers. That morning, as friends gathered to celebrate, someone asked what she wished for in the year ahead. She didn't hesitate. I wish every senior could know what I know now, that the most powerful medicine is often what you do in the quiet hours when no one is watching.